Okay, welcome to the April 23rd, 2020 LCT monthly webinar. It's hard to believe that we have only about 5 or 6 applications to finish up before the window closes next week. We are going to talk a little bit about right now the status of LCT applications, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the FCC's COVID-19 order, which was issued a couple of weeks ago. Ginnie is going to talk about the Form 471 deadline and reminders for April. Ashley's going to talk about next steps. And Kyle is going to talk about invoicing, which is the best part because that's where you get your money. So without further ado, let's move on. So the last call, we actually had 48 of 115 applications left to certify. That was 2 months ago. So we've added some new LCT libraries to our list, and now we have a few more applications to do. So we have 121 applications that need to be certified, and 115 of them have already been certified. 93 of those are waive ready, and 4 of them are in final review. So we've got a significant number of LCT applications that should be in the very first funding wave, which is always really exciting because that means anybody who's using the SPI method of billing should be able to start reaping the benefits of their discounts right away as soon as July 1st comes around. The 2018 filing window, or the funding year, is closed. I think we've submitted all the invoices that are associated with that funding year. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is for those people who filed 2019 applications, and that would be groups 1 and group 2, anybody who filed in 2018 and 19, or anybody who just started in 2019. Those of you who filed in 2019 should have your invoice mode set already if you're going to be using the service provider invoice method. If you are going to be doing a bear, we're going to tell you what you need to do to make sure that you can get your invoicing started as soon as possible. So let's move on to the next slide. So the COVID-19 order, many of you may have read about it in our newsletter that we sent out, but the FCC has given relief to applicants who were trying to start their services but maybe had to have some special construction to build their connections to the internet, or if they had Category 2 services and needed to purchase equipment from a previous year, the deadline was extended so that you can continue moving on to get those connections installed. So those service delivery deadlines for Category 2 services filed in 2019, the service delivery deadline is going to be September 30th. If you filed an application in 2018 for Category 2 and you got an extension on the service delivery deadline, they're giving you another year. So anything with a service delivery deadline of September 30th, that is automatically you're going to get another year to finish implementing those services. And if you had special construction costs associated with installing your internet access or your WAN service, that service delivery deadline is June 30th of this year, and your deadline's already been extended. So those are extended. Also, if you had an appeal deadline or a request for waiver deadline that happens during this time, you're going to get an additional 60 days to file those. Invoice deadlines that started in March 11th through the October 28th deadline to invoice for 2019. those invoice deadlines get an additional 120 days. So you automatically get an extension. And if you're, that means, so for 2019, the normal deadline to file your invoices for recurring services, that's your internet access or your WAN service, that's October 28th. And normally you have to actually request an extension to get that extension, but they're just automatically putting it into place. So it's now, the deadline is February 25th. Your Form 486 deadline, if you had a 486, so if you had an application that was funded recently, that's been extended another 120 days. And if you have any PIA requests and you're not able to respond, those get an additional 30 days. Now, for Libraries Connecting Texas, what does that mean for you? I don't think any of you are in a situation where you had any special construction that you're waiting to install. And as far as PIA is concerned, we're keeping an eye on that for you, and we'll reach out to you if we need any other information. When we assisted you in filing your applications, we asked you to send us a bill to document your services that were continuing for previous years if you had a multi-year contract. And if you have a new contract, we should have that documentation as well. We're going to double check and make sure that we have all that information from you, and if we don't, we may reach out to you and ask you for it. So just do check your email. You'll be getting some more information during this call about PIA requests and how to handle them.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Caroline. This is Ginnie Harwood, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Like Caroline said, we hope that everybody is staying safe and healthy. And for the small percentage of our libraries who have not yet filed and certified your Form 471, you have until next Wednesday, April 29th, to do so. So I think we have 5 or 6 applications to do. So what needs to be done by this date? Your bids have to be evaluated. We'll help you through that process. Your contracts need to be approved and signed. And then you've got to certify that application in the EPIC system before 10:59 p.m. on April 29th. And I'm giving you down to the minute because as of 11 p.m., you cannot submit, or you can, but it would be considered late. So we don't want anybody in that predicament if we can help it. Okay, some reminders for this month. There continue to be action item emails that go out to everybody through our LCT email and newsletters. And we actually issue newsletters weekly, and we'll send those out on Mondays. So be sure you're checking those. There's lots of important information in there. A lot of the information that has action items in it is time sensitive. Just be aware of that. If you have questions on any of the content in those emails, give us a call. There's our phone number. Any of us are available to help you. And for action items this month, kind of what you can expect to happen once you've certified your Form 471 is a team at USAC called the Program Integrity Assurance Team, or PIA. They review all 471 applications, and at times they have questions, and they will send you those questions through EPIC. So we'll talk about what those look like as well. And then once all questions are answered, if any were issued, and they have all the information they need to fund your application, they will issue a funding commitment decision letter. So PIA, they're the team, of course, that reviews the applications, and if they have questions, they will issue inquiries in EPIC, and those inquiries come to you through EPIC in an email. We ask that anytime you get an inquiry from PIA, from USAC, from portal@usac.org, to contact us so that we can help you answer those questions. We want to be sure that they're answered correctly and that they are answered timely. And they do have a 15-day deadline that has been extended due to COVID-19. But if we can get that off your plate as soon as possible, we would like to do that. So these are important emails. They will come from portal@portal.usac.org. I've talked to several of you who have issues getting emails through your firewall, so you may want to talk to your IT department just to make sure that you whitelist this domain, portal.usac.org, so that you are getting all the emails that you need to be getting. The email subject will have your application number, and it'll say E-rate review information. So that's an important email. That's kind of your call to action. Inside the email will be a link to the inquiry page in Epic. And so once you get in there, you can see what they're asking and you can respond. If you have questions, the reviewer's contact information is also in those emails. Okay, so some common questions, especially relating to libraries, is pretty much, verify or justify your request, the amount of money that you're requesting. So a supporting document that would show what the amount of monies you were requesting, a copy of a contract, or a copy of a recent bill from your service provider, which is why we ask for those things up front, so we can make sure that you're asking for the correct amount of money, including certain eligible taxes and fees. So typically that's what they're asking for, and on occasion they'll ask for eligibility of the library. But again, engage us when you get those questions. We will help you answer them and get the information quickly. So I took a snapshot of what the review inquiries page in Epic looks like, and this is what you want it to look like if you have had questions. So you might want to log in and take a look in your application. This section, review inquiries section, it should look like this. Your pending inquiries, there should be none. And your submitted inquiries, everything that you've answered should be submitted and in that table. So this looks like a good, complete PIA. And then of course, once they have all their answers, if they do have questions for you, they will move your application to waive ready status, which is also a good, what you want it to look like as well. And once it's in waive ready status and the funding waives start to be issued by USAC, we expect that to be sometime in May, they will issue your funding commitment decision letter. This is an important document for you to review. It will show up in your news feed in Epic. It will also show up on your landing page. So it's an important document to download. So when you're viewing in your news feed, it will look like this. And what you want to do is you want to download this letter itself. Look at it. It's in a PDF document, and it's got a supplemental Excel spreadsheet to go with it. So download both of those, open them, and carefully review them. And I've kind of pinpointed some details to take a look at specifically. So you want to pay close attention to the total committed amount. That's the amount of money that USAC has committed to fund you for the funding request that you've got on your application. The funding commitment decision overview We'll break down, if you have multiple funding requests, it'll break down each one on subsequent pages. You'll want to make sure the service provider name is correct, that the amount requested is correct, that the amount committed is correct. That's post-discount. So you want to make sure your discount's correct. And then the status should say funded. There are also comments, if they have any, on that same page at the bottom. So do you just want to take a look at that kind of information, those details? If you see something, if it all looks good, great. If you see something that needs to be changed, we can do a route, we can't do a route correction, but we can do an appeal if there's something that you don't agree with. Okay, so that's why it's important to review this funding commitment decision letter. So again, if you see something that you don't agree with, if you find an error on that funding commitment document, let us know. There's a 60 calendar day deadline from the date of the FCDL, the date on the letter itself. Due to COVID-19 order, there's an additional 60 days that you have, but engage us quickly if need be to identify anything that needs to be appealed or sent to USAC or the FCC, okay? All right, now I'm gonna hand it over to Ashley Brown, who's gonna talk to us about next steps.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Brown, and I am excited to share the next steps with you. So the first thing that's important is to go over our CIPA, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act, and what those requirements are. And once we've made sure that we have those requirements in place, we'll talk about the Form 486. Next slide, please. Sorry. So the first requirement is you have to have an internet safety policy in place. Libraries are required to adopt them and enforce them, which includes a technology protection measure that needs to address the following. You want to make sure that you have access by minors to inappropriate matter on the internet or the World Wide Web. The safety and security of minors when using electronic mail, excuse me. Chat rooms and other forms of direct electronic communication, unauthorized access, including hacking and or other unlawful activities by minors online, unauthorized disclosure, use, and dissemination of personal information regarding minors, and a measure designed to restrict minors' access to materials that are harmful to them. And then a technology protection measure. Libraries are also required to have a specific technology that blocks or filters internet access. This must be enforced that way that the operation of the technology protection measure during the use of its computers with internet access and decisions about what is considered inappropriate for minors are made by the local community. CIPA also requires a public notice and or hearing. The authority with responsibility for administration of the library must provide reasonable public notice and hold at least one hearing or meeting to address the proposed technology measure and the internet safety policy. If you can't locate these required documents, you need to hold a public notice hearing or meeting promptly. This will, you'll need to provide the documents that these actions were taken. Examples of a public notice are a website announcement of the library meeting that's open to the public. It needs to be posted like the agenda of the upcoming meeting on the library website or advertise it in a local newspaper. And examples of public meeting hearing are a copy of the meeting minutes approving the technology measure and the internet safety policy. It needs to be documented that the library board adopted this policy. And so if you have any additional questions or concerns regarding your requirements or the needs for the CIPA, please refer to the Texas State Library and Archives Commission for any questions, or you can contact Henry Stokes. He's the library technology consultant or the state E-rate coordinator for libraries, and his contact information is listed below. Okay, after you have made sure that all of your requirements are met for SIPA, you're going to need to file your Form 486. The purpose of the Form 486 is to notify USAC that your services will start on July 1st, or if you've received your FCDL after the July 1st start date, that they've started, your services had already previously started. So you can't file your Form 486 until after you received your FCDL. And the other thing that it does is it certifies compliance with SIPA. So that's a big push as to why you have to have your SIPA requirements met prior to filing your Form 486. Our process here at LCT is once the funding decision, once the FCDL is received, Kiel Lewis, who you'll be listening to in a moment, he actually prepares the Form 486 for you. He will send you a copy of the FCDL that was posted in either your news feed or received in your on your landing page. That way you have a copy just in case you've missed it or haven't seen it yet. He'll also send you a draft copy of the Form 486 along with the instructions on how to certify this form. Now, before you certify the Form 486, just going back to what Ginnie Harwood said earlier, you want to make sure that you have thoroughly reviewed your FCDL to make sure that it could be that there was a transposed number in the amount of money you requested. Maybe we were off a couple $100 when you enter the numbers per month or per year. So if those things have come up and you've caught them, we can then file an appeal to make sure we've got the proper documentation to fix those errors if there are any. Once you've reviewed everything and it looks good, then you'll log into EPC and you'll certify the Form 486. The deadline for the Form 486 must be certified no later than 120 days after the service start date or 120 days after the date of the FCDL, whichever is received later. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us for any assistance on that. And at this point, I'm going to hand over the call to Kiel.
Hello, everybody. This is Kiel Lewis speaking. So regarding the invoicing that is going to be coming up here shortly, there are two possible methods that can be used for that. One is the service provider invoice method, the SPI method, which essentially is the service provider invoicing the library the discounted amount, and the service provider requests the reimbursement from USAC. If you are going with this method, be sure to check your internet bills to ensure that the discount is being applied. Otherwise, there is the second method, which is the billed entity applicant reimbursement, the BEAR form. And essentially, this is the library pays the service provider in full and invoices USAC the discounted amount for reimbursement. Moving to the next slide, there are two prerequisites required to file a BEAR in this way. You'll need to file a Form 498 on the EPIC portal. This form provides USAC with your library's disbursement account information for discounts for this and future filing years. If this account information changes, then it would need to be updated. Additionally, you would need a BEAR PIN. This is essentially a PIN number that would allow you to file your library's BEAR. And this is also something that could be used for this and future filing years. However, so if you have filed a BEAR with your current library before, you will not need to file a Form 498 or request a BEAR PIN. You can use the BEAR PIN you currently have associated with your library. So if you have any questions or need any help with doing either of these, please reach out and we can help you with that. So in terms of invoicing USAC for reimbursement, you're not going to be able to invoice them until after the Form 486, which Ashley just discussed regarding earlier in the call here. And additionally, the services will need to have been paid for and delivered. For example, in July, which would be the last month of the financial year 2019, you would not be able to file the invoice for that month until after that bill had been paid. And then once USAC processes an invoice for a funding request, the method of the invoice is set and cannot be changed down the line. So just be certain about which method you're going with. And then we'd be happy to discuss more about invoicing next month when you begin to prepare for these reimbursements. All right, and I believe that's back to Caroline to wrap us up.
Thanks, Kyle. So there were a couple of questions that came in during the call, and I just want to share some of the answers just in case some of you had the same questions but just didn't ask them. So some of you wondered about the status of your Form 471. Why isn't it waive ready yet? I thought it was going to be waive ready soon. Sometimes an application can go to waive ready status and then go back to another status and then go back to waive ready, or it could hop back and forth among statuses. The only thing you really need to worry about is if you get a question, make sure to answer, it gets answered within the time that's allotted. And right now we get extra time to respond. So I think concern is, it's too early to be concerned about a status in review right now. So I believe we're going to start seeing more of these forms move on to waive status pretty quickly. And I fully expect that the majority of you will have FCDLs before the July 1st beginning of the funding year. Another question was about the Children's Internet Protection Act. Just a couple of little items that you might want to take note about. So the public meeting is a requirement for your internet safety policy. It only has to be held one time. And so if you may have had a meeting that you know about, but you may not have a record of that. So do check the notes of the meeting that you held and make sure that you have documentation that it occurred. If you can't find that, then you can have another meeting. So it only has to happen one time. We do recommend, though, if you change or alter your internet safety policy for some reason, then you'll need to, we suggest that you have it approved in a public meeting again. And this could just be a regular board meeting. I think most of you have boards of directors, and you can do that during your regular board meeting. I'm going to open it up to questions. If you have any questions, why don't you raise your hand, and then I will open up the mic and let you talk, or you can ask questions in the chat, whichever you prefer. Doesn't look like there are any questions. Just a couple other things. The deadline to file the Form 471 is next Wednesday. I think everybody on the call has filed a Form 471. And we don't think the window is going to be extended. It's very possible that it could be, but we'll keep you posted if there's anything new that happens. Please do read your weekly newsletter. We usually have a lot of really important information about the E-rate program in there. Some of it can be not applicable to libraries, but it usually has a lot of good information and reminders, such as upcoming deadlines and things like that. We're going to be starting to send out information to you regarding the upcoming invoicing of your 2019 funding requests. And if you don't have an invoice mode set yet, we'll probably reach out to you and just let you know so that you can check your bills. But it's not a bad idea to go ahead and check your bill in the interim and see if you're expecting that your bill is supposed to be discounted and you're not getting the discounts. You've already paid your bills in full for half of the year, and you might want to just go ahead and file a bear. So don't let that creep up on you. I mean, you do have an extended deadline, but let's try to reap the benefits of your E-rate discount. If you think of any questions that you have regarding the E-rate process, please just give us a call. I think you probably have most of our extensions, but you can reach all of us at 516-801-7820. It rings at all of our desks. And the lct@eratecentral.com email goes to all of us as well. Our next call will be on May 28th at 2. We're probably going to continue to be using Zoom, but we're going to probably ask you to register next time. It also, that kind of allows us to have better security with Zoom and to know who's going to be on the call. We've had 8 attendees for this call, and we're going to be putting this, the recording on YouTube as we usually do. If you have anything that you need, or if you want to give us feedback about the webinars, any ideas of things that maybe you'd like to see, please do email us. We're going to be sending out a survey probably sometime soon after the window closes, just to get your feedback on how you felt the window went and if you had all the information that you need. So if I don't see any questions coming in, and I don't see any hands raised, so I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.